It's September 12th. It's our first meeting. I guess it's almost fall in the school year. And as we always do, we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forget that. The next item that we usually start with is our public audience. If you're here to speak, I see Joan Coe is here, and we'll welcome you guys after. So, Joan, if you want to come up, I didn't get my phone. You have a 5-minute, and we will just tell you when your 5 minutes are up. And that's you, and you're expected to be done.
Code 26 Whitman Drive. Eric Wellman lost the Democratic primary as a result of his arrogance and self-serving positions. When Eric Wellman, the Democrat, was elected first selectman, his first decision was to choose Republican Deputy Selectman Sean Askham, as he was solidifying his political position of working with both sides of the political landscape. During an interview with the Patch staff after Eric Wellman's loss to Melissa Osborne, Wellman said, quote, after the primary, he wasn't sure he'd work on her campaign, but he did wish her well, end quote. These remarks don't exemplify a team player. Eric Wellman has perpetrated the big lie when questioned about his campaign gathering at the Simsbury Meadows without any gathering permits. These self-serving qualities are realized on his position on the Board of Selectmen, with his votes aligning himself with a failing town manager's management style. Town manager Maria Caprioli was mentored in Mansfield town manager Matt Hart. Matt Hart accepted a position as town manager of West Hartford. It is alleged that Matt Hart's management style was not compatible with West Hartford's long-lasting previous town managers and was not going to have his contract renewed. Town manager Maria Caprioli has applied the same management style as town manager Matt Hart in Mansfield before Maria Caprioli accepted the position of town manager in Simsbury. It is alleged that Maria Caprioli was chosen as Simsbury's town manager from a pool of weak candidates. Maria Caprioli's management style of micromanagement and abuse of power has created a toxic workplace noted by the loss of exceptional staff. Steve Antonio, in a letter to the Board of Selectmen, stated, quote, the Board of Selectmen is complicit, as it appears, as the town manager is not the boss of our town, nor is it an elected position. The Board of Selectmen are not subordinates to town manager, but rather the supervisors, and we ask that you acknowledge what is happening to our town staff and take action, end quote. If the elected officials in West Hartford had the courage to voice their concerns and replace town manager with action, why can't the Board of Selectmen in Simsbury do the same? On November 8, 2022, Melissa Osborne will be running against the Republican candidate Mike Payne for Simsbury State Representative to fill a seat vacated by John Hampton. Mike Payne, president of Payne's Rubbish Removal, has contracts with many businesses, municipalities, and residents throughout the state, with an appearance of many conflicts of interest. Attorney Melissa Osborne has been an advocate for families, and with her feisty leadership, she will vote and advocate for family values. The goals of the Board of Selectmen and Town Manager have set their priorities for the next year as presented to the town. The most important issue they have determined for the town is racism, not mental health and addictive services. The taxpayers have spent many thousands of dollars with a Band-Aid approach to mental health and addiction, where there is a need for long-term services and institutions that provide immediate and long-term care for persons in need. Money should be spent for building institutions with support services for immediate and long-term care, not months or years of service. Alcohol is allowed in town property, and Johnny's Six-Pack can place alcoholic beverages in their golf cart or consume alcohol during sporting events. Marijuana has become a recreational addictive substance with no rules or regulations on town property. Soon the town will discuss regulations for the sale of marijuana for public distribution. That should be denied. Alcohol and marijuana are addictive substances that have affected many families. These substances should be realized as a public safety issue and should not be encouraged by town policies. Large amounts of taxpayer money is being spent for social services, a comfort dog, a promise to Jordan, and community for care, are paper tigers that cannot solve the problems of addiction and mental health without an increase in services that are immediate and long-term. Simsbury police have been dispatched to an apartment on Hop Meadow Street for about 50 calls a month for a 52-year-old lady that consumes large amounts of vodka and is on state assistance. There are calls for assist, aided, and ambulance, as well as well-being noted in the police activity and arrest logs. The law as written does not give anyone the ability to commit this person for treatment. There is a revolving door. When there are referrals, they cannot be acted upon in a timely manner due to the lack of institutions and medical support. Money will be well spent on buildings and therapists for long-term immediate care to solve the mental health addiction crisis. The remedies are being ignored. All of my comments will be posted on Simsbury Patch, Twitter, Joan Co., and Facebook. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And I did it within my 5 minutes.
Dr. Rinaldi's coming up.
Good evening. My name is Mike Rinaldi. I live on Pinnacle Mountain Road. I have 3 things I wanted to discuss. These are probably going to be discussed by you during your meeting. The first one involves Simsbury Farms Complex. I don't know if any of you were here 50 years ago. I was. That place was bought and paid for by the taxpayers, and it was the idea was to build a recreational center that was a great place for the people of Simsbury to use. But the second thing that was mentioned at that time, it was to produce income for the town. It's never produced a cent. By my rough calculations, even though we bond for all the upgrades and all the additions to that facility, by my rough calculations, we're about $5 million in the arrears. The place runs between $70,000 and $150,000 deficit every year. That has to stop. 50 years have gone by. It's time for that place to start producing income for the town. The second thing was on assessments. When I went to the Board of Finance meeting a few weeks ago, I discussed the fact that Simsbury spends too much and it taxes too much. And the reason is that we make bad decisions. And I won't outline them all to you. But one of the ones I saw that's going to be discussed at your meeting tonight was the solar farm. Somehow that place got assessed at $34 million. And it was appealed, and it was knocked down to $26 million. It's an $8 million deficit. Whoever did that assessment, I'm not sure it was done in-house. It probably wasn't. But if it was a contractor, that person should be fired and sued. We're losing basically $220,000 a year. The place was supposed to produce over $1 million in revenue. It's not going to do that. The third thing I wanted to discuss was cannabis. Before you start making decisions about cannabis in this town, learn what it's all about. Learn what a controlled substance is. Learn who controls a controlled substance. Know what licensure is. I have a license from the federal government and from the state of Connecticut to prescribe controlled substances. I cannot prescribe cannabis. No physician can, except for a small few who've been given the authority to prescribe marijuana for, quote, medical purposes. I know of no condition that marijuana cures or is of any great benefit. There are 2 things. There's a seizure disorder, and there's the anorexia caused by chemotherapy drugs that are helpful. But we do have marijuana products. They're procured cannabis drugs that are purified and don't have any of those side effects, which are habit-forming, habituating, and and mood altering. So when we talk about marijuana, you have to know the difference between what is marijuana for medical purposes and what is marijuana used for medical conditions. The stuff that we have recreational marijuana is basically the same stuff that they're growing up here and on Hot Meadow Street, and they're prescribing for medical problems. That is not medical marijuana. That's marijuana used for medical purposes, of which there's no use. And you want to debate me with that? I'd be glad to debate you. All I have to say is go to the literature, look up the stuff before you make a decision. Know what you're talking about. Because, you know,
You have 10 seconds.
thank you. Because people actually think that having a place for marijuana to be sold in here is a good thing. It's not a good thing.
Thank you, Doctor.
The young lady in the background.
Hello, I'm Donna Sennett. I live at 10 The Glade. Good evening, Simsbury Board of Selectmen and residents. In 2018, local award-winning playwright Betsy McGuire wrote Our Town Simsbury to celebrate the 350th anniversary of the town's incorporation with universal themes of community, family, and love. The play, which draws inspiration from Thornton Wilder's 1938 Our Town, is a love letter to Simsbury and a time capsule of what life was like here in 2018. Come and let a large set of characters bring you back to the time of the Simsbury Art Trail statues and the heyday of Simsbury Neighbors Unite, with occasional beer sightings to boot. Produced by Playland Productions in partnership with the Simsbury Historical Society, this production will be presented at Eno Hall for all lovers of Simsbury to enjoy. Director Chris Bushy and stage manager Brian Elmer expertly use the auditorium floor as a stage, enabling the audience to fully immerse into the workings of the town while setting into the permanent seating of Eno Hall. Ticket prices are at a historical low, $10 for seniors and students, $15 for general admission. First performance is Thursday, September 22nd at 7. Weekend performances are Saturday, September 24th and Saturday, October 1st at 2 and 7 p.m. You can find tickets at playlandproductionsct.com, and you can find this link in a patch article. You can find it on Facebook sites such as Simsbury Neighbors. And then if you want to buy in person, you can go to the Simsbury Historical Society. So don't miss your chance to see our town Simsbury on stage. You'll be sure to see your own life reflected in this masterful creation. And thank you for your time. And
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
That was an uplifting public audience. Thank you. Anyone else here for public audience? Okay. So the sure.
So after more than a year, I'm really concerned by what I've learned about Simsbury Ambulance. After starting out advocating for 2 ambulances 24/7 and facing resistance, while this need has been known and sometimes met by the paramedics and EMTs since 2010, we then stumbled upon so many basic breaks of ethical human resource policies under its current leadership, who was paid $127,000 plus collections, we believe, while the prior director was paid a staggering $170,000, and this is public information, before that, and remains the current board chair who runs a hand-picked board who workers there have been bringing serious issues to for the past 12 years with almost no results besides lashback in response from leadership. An above level of pay while Simsbury Ambulance solicits volunteers to work for nothing and also solicits donations to fund those high salaries, including from residents who make less. Disconcerting to learn, to say the least. 10 letters from prior and recent paramedics and EMTs, plus a few more who met with the Board of Selectmen in person, expressing a very toxic work environment in multiple ways, to the point that several EMS would not even ride with the current director due to loss of confidence. Issues of medical cleanliness, unprofessional emails, serious allegations of alcoholism on the job, favoritism, backdoor firing, people who report on their experience and or join the union, by just not placing them on the schedule anymore, which is classic retaliation and union busting, and denying status change requests from full-time to per diem, and then turning around and telling the Board of Selectmen that Simsbury Ambulance doesn't have the personnel to staff 2 ambulances. Very basic presentations that don't track against the contract with the town so that there's no focus on accountability. The director leaving at 3 or 5 when on a 7 to 7 shift, not following a mass casualty protocol, false reporting to the hospital, and leaving calls to mutual aid. All of the above is a summary taken directly from the many letters written by the people who work there. It is really troubling 12 or more people within a small organization don't speak up so loudly about the same issues when there are not serious problems. Our conclusion is that Simsbury Ambulance flies just under the radar of what they believe the state, their medical control hospital, or the Board of Selectmen can or will do under an old system of limited accountability that assumed that such behavior would not usually take place within the medical field where lives are at stake. It is so unfortunate that the lives and safety of 25,000 plus residents is subject to a provider that has become subpar, while it can, should, and has at times in the past been better. Thank you.
And we're lucky we have the SVAA board here tonight to do a presentation, so potentially address any issues. Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to move on to our presentations. And first up, we have the Granby Simsbury Chamber of Commerce to give us an update.
You almost said Granbury, didn't you?
I don't know what I was going to say.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. My name's Morgan Hilliard. I'm the Executive Director for the Granby Simsbury Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by a few of our board members. We have Board President Tim Baker, Andrew Saidaj, and Lindsay Sanchez. I think that's it, right? Yep. Okay, so let's just dive right in. A little bit about the chamber in terms of our basics. We've got our mission, vision, and values up there. It's a little bit difficult to see against the white lettering with the background, so I'll read that for those that aren't able to. Create opportunities for our members to succeed by supporting local business, providing resources, and cultivating relationships is our mission. Our vision is to serve as a leader in the community by providing a platform for our members to connect, grow, and thrive. And then our values are listed there, and it's a little bit easier to read those. Currently, we have a board of 23 directors. We are a large board, having just merged this June 1st with the Granby Chamber and Simsbury Chamber organizations coming together. We currently serve 452 members, and approximately 70% of that membership is actually located in Simsbury. We are a nonprofit and nonpartisan nonprofit 501c6 organization. This is just a brief overview of some of our member benefits that I'd love to explain to all of you so you have a better understanding of what we provide the business community. First and foremost, we have our networking opportunities. It's really what we're known for. We have in-person morning networking every first Friday and third Thursday. We organize it that way so that it would be a little bit easier to remember because we have such a packed schedule for all of our businesses. And these meetings alternate for a variety of locations, both located in Granby and in Simsbury for the convenience of our members. And then we have our after hours events. So after hours is our evening social. We kind of explain it to members as the morning networking is kind of getting down to business. You do a 30-second introduction, you talk about your business, and you see who you connect with in the room. And then the after hours is more solidifying that relationship. So these are just more casual socials. And we have an after hours usually every month, depending on what the signature event is that time of year. And it's held at a different member location every month. So we really love to give all of the members that are able to accommodate a group of around 60 participants at their physical location. But we always have a few of the businesses that love to book 1 month ahead in advance and always have that on the calendar. One fun example of that is the Selig Jewelers business. They book our New Year's party pretty much every year. So as soon as the new year comes around and they have their event, then they go ahead and book for the next year, which we think it's really fun to kind of include a little bit of consistency with the schedule in that way. And then we have our ribbon cuttings. All of you on this board are very familiar with our ribbon cuttings. All of you do a phenomenal job frequenting those events, and we just love the ribbon cuttings because it's an opportunity for us to be a part of such a celebratory event with our members. Obviously, ribbon cuttings, as you know, a lot of them are new members to the area, or they've done a renovation or expansion. And they just are over the moon to finally have their doors open and embark on this new journey. So it's so exciting for all of us to, on the chamber board, to team up with the Board of Selectmen in celebrating with those businesses. In addition to ribbon cuttings, we have our signature events. I'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. We also have marketing opportunities for our businesses. 60% of our members are small businesses. These small businesses do not have the budget for a marketing campaign or a third-party marketing team. So that's where the chamber is really invaluable to these businesses. We announce them on the chamber website as new members. We immediately link to their website, so they drive organic traffic right off the bat. And then the chamber website calendar is extensively used by our members, by the town. We have all of your events up there, as well as the chamber events. And then we have our chamber e-newsletter. So that's sent every Tuesday to over 3,500 local contacts. So not just our members, but essentially anyone who's ever come to a chamber event or asked to be on that contact list. In this e-newsletter, we list chamber initiatives and programs, resources that are pertinent to the business community. And then we go through and we look up all of our members' events. So a lot of times they make it easier for us and they post those things on the chamber calendar, but frequently we have to scour the internet, social media pages, Facebook pages, and we help those businesses and highlight them without them even knowing, until of course they receive the newsletter and read through that. They also have the opportunity to have this contact list in the form of a customizable e-blast. So it's the same list that we send our e-newsletter on. They're able to develop an e-blast that is completely around what their specific program or event is. This is at a charge, but we charge $100 for this opportunity, which is, extremely low cost compared to what this normally would be. And then, of course, we have our community guide. That's a piece that all of you are familiar with as well. Traditionally, that was a printed directory. And a few years ago, we kind of took a look at that and we said, this is really underutilized. We can expand on this. We can make it really more of a tourism piece. And we've gone ahead and done that very successfully. So right now, the community guide, we have not embarked on creating it for the Granby Simsbury Chamber, but the current Simsbury Chamber guide that is still available has all of our members listed alphabetically, then by category, and then we go through a list of tourism attractions in the area. So we have all of the agricultural things to see, historical society, basically helps people plan a trip when they come to this area. In addition to the hiking, biking, and walking trails, the amount of times that we get people in the visitor center asking for a map on the hiking trails is too many to keep track of. So we figured we'll put this in the guide, and it's been a huge draw. We also have committees. I think at this point we have about 7, and we always continue to add more. We have committees that are focused on anything from our signature events, which I'll be going through later, in addition to the Education Committee, the Ambassador Committee, Health and Wellness Committee, and Government Affairs Committee, which is a really important one, and several of you on this group attend those frequently, so thank you. The committees are really great because they provide an immediate opportunity for additional referral resources. So when a member joins the chamber, maybe they're just joining for visibility, or maybe they're joining to really expand their network. When that's the case, we pair them essentially with a committee, because we have a committee for pretty much every type of industry. So that's a spot where they can really hit the ground running and immediately build their network. We do offer member health benefits through Connecticut Insurance Trust, and there are some really fantastic plans that are available through that for the small businesses that generally can't afford to do those programs on their own. It just helps our members find an affordable way to attract and maintain quality employees. Of course, we have our sponsorships. So similar to the networking opportunities, our sponsorships revolve around our signature events, and they really support logo visibility, and they help these businesses get their name out there, which otherwise is nearly impossible for them to do. So by providing events where they're going to be exposed to community members and to business people from all around the area, they're really able to reach their business goals. And then, of course, we have advocacy. So we endorse the businesses that are chamber members. When we receive calls looking for a specific industry or business, which we receive a lot, we're able to refer them directly to the business owners that we know and work with. We've already developed those relationships. So it's, much better than going on Google and seeing, who got the best or worst reviews. Because when people contact us, we can tell them exactly who they're going to be dealing with. Events. So events are one of the things we are most known for as a Chamber of Commerce. I'll start with our signature events. Business Leaders Breakfast has really developed such a huge reputation in the area and is a draw for professionals from all around the area. So of course you get several of the chamber, professionals that attend those events, but it also attracts people from the whole region at large. This past year, a lot of you were able to attend that event, and we had Chad Thompson from Ensign Bickford and Mark Mitchell from Mitchell Auto Group, which was very informative but very entertaining, as I'm sure all of you remember. And we also have our annual meeting. Annual meeting is less of a broader appeal and more just a time for all of the chamber members to get together and reflect on the past year's successes, what initiatives we have going forward. And that's also where we name the Public Servant of the Year, Business Leader of the Year, and the Educator of the Year. And all of you contribute to that public servant portion, which is really an integral part. It's also where we announce our scholarship award winners, which our education committee is in charge of finding. And it's not just specific to Simsbury, it's students from all around the area. And then, of course, we have our golf tournament. Our golf tournament has been successful for the past 3 years that we've done this. So prior to the merger, the Granby Chamber had a much longer standing golf tournament, and we decided to team up with them in 2019, and it went really, really well. So we kept it going. And then this past June was our first time having the golf tournament as a merged organization. And again, it was a huge success. In terms of networking, I just thought I'd put some numbers out there that, upon doing my research for this presentation, I thought were really impressive. We've had over 1,200 attendees for events just so far this year. We have the most successful young professionals group in the area in the Hartford County. I was one of the co-founders of Flow for West Hartford, and West Hartford was very, very successful. Now I'm proud to say that the Farmington Valley Young Professionals Group really holds that first place spot. This is also a collaboration with the Avon Canton Chamber. So, the Granby Simsbury Chamber is really big on collaborations, on partnerships, and on, working with other organizations in the area. We have 7 committees, which I mentioned earlier. And again, that just gives more people the opportunity to build their networks. For ribbon cuttings, I believe we've got 10 there. So we have, if you guys don't remember going to all 10, then hopefully we'll get you for the next few months worth. Really exciting for all of those businesses that have either opened or expanded. And then our larger community events. Celebrate the Valley. I'm sure you've been hearing about this in the area. We have over 100 businesses signed up to participate, and every day we get several more in. This event is going to be September 22nd through the 24th, and it's over at Salmon Brook Park in Granby. Prior to the merger, this event was called Celebrate Granby, and it was the flagship event for the Granby Chamber. It was successful. It's one of the last carnivals of this type in the area in terms of fall festivals, and it has a real nostalgic feel to it that people are so excited about. So we were thrilled with the merger that we decided as a board to hold on to this event and build upon it. So it's more regional with Celebrate the Valley now, and it includes businesses from all over the area. It also ends in fireworks. So if you've got neighbors with dogs, let them know. We're getting the signage out for that.
You saw that Facebook post, huh?
Yeah. We also have a support local raffle. So as a chamber, there's so many opportunities to sponsor, and of course there are plenty of free benefits, but we also want to give back to our members. So the Support Local raffle, we're dedicating almost $2,000 to purchasing gift cards to local restaurants and retail businesses. Those gift cards will then be bundled, and we'll be raffling them off right before the holidays. So those people that love to re-gift or make it simple, buy your raffle tickets, and hopefully you can be done if you win. We also have Spooktacular Celebration. A lot of you probably remember the chili challenge prior to COVID. When COVID happened, health department said, never again. So we had to figure out how to, pivot on this signature event that the chamber and the town of Simsbury was so known for. And with the help of Parks and Rec with the town, we were able to come up with the idea of a drive-through component. We had distanced circles. We all remember the circles. I would be happy if I never have to see one again. And we had really strict guidelines that we had to adhere to make that event happen in 2019. We were the only organization, and town for that matter, that was doing anything during COVID for the Halloween season. The families were desperate to have the interaction. The businesses were desperate to actually see potential customers, and we were able to work together and accomplish that. And it was fantastic. We sold out. The year after that, we still had some restrictions. It was a little bit, loosened up, but we had grown by over 2,000 attendees the second year. This year, we have no restrictions, which means no drive-through. So that means no traffic down Hot Meadow. That won't happen again. Everyone will be on the field this year, and it will allow our vendors to have unlimited time with their potential customers and the families in the area. So we're thrilled. And that is a group shot. We have costume contests that day and car decorating. And this family was fantastic. Obviously, it's Jurassic Park, and it was one of the most creative family costumes. I can't remember what they won, but I think it was several gift cards to local restaurants. And we'll do one more page. We also receive an outside agency grant with the town to be the visitor center for Simsbury. We absolutely love this role and partnership, and we have around 500 visitors a year that come in through our doors. This allows us to distribute hundreds of community guides, and we really take the time with each and every visitor to figure out what's brought them to the area. Many times they're a new resident, especially the past year. The housing market has been crazy. So we're seeing a lot of new families that are excited to learn about their new home. And tourism has really increased in this whole, Hot Meadow Street stretch and every town around there. We get so many people in from all over New England and further that are looking to be a part of this small town experience. They love the fact that there is a strong restaurant and retail industry in the area, as well as the agriculture. It's a huge draw. So we love to talk to these visitors, and we essentially help them develop itineraries in exploring and experiencing everything that Simsbury has to offer, and encouraging them to come back and visit. In terms of our visibility, we're doing pretty well. We have over 24,000 Facebook page reaches, over 2,000 Instagram reaches, and just since August, since we've been tracking this, we're almost at 4,000 website users. I took a little dive into the businesses that are registered in Simsbury and compared that number to how many of our members are located in Simsbury, and we came up with 12% of the Simsbury businesses are members. The national average is 8, so we're doing better than that, but also this number is going to be a little bit skewed because I was finding all sorts of businesses registered in Simsbury that were really located in California or those types of things, DBAs. So either way, this number is a positive number, and we are expecting that to continue to rise. Finally, in conclusion, I will just read this. It was actually a collaboration with our executive team that came up with this ending statement, and I thought it was just spot on. The Chamber of Commerce remains dedicated to continued development of the strong partnership that we have with the town of Simsbury. We believe that our recent expansion has allowed us to create opportunities that draw on the strengths of two organizations while generating new and improved programs for the benefit of all that live, work, and visit here. With that, I just want to say we are so appreciative for past sponsorships, opportunities for partnerships, opportunities for new partnerships in the future, and we're so excited to be creative with all of you. Thank you. Any questions?
Anybody have anything they want to?
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's really good.
Thanks, everybody from the chamber.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Can we get it switched to the Simsbury Granby Chamber, though?
can you send that out to us too, the presentation?
Yeah,
That'd be
awesome.
great. Okay, so on the next item up we have a presentation because it's, we have a resolution or proclamation as for Suicide Awareness Month. And we had a resident reach out to us from a nonprofit to acknowledge that it was Suicide Prevention Month. And Maria and her team have done some research and some data to pull some information relevant to this and the timelines of this. And I was going to let Maria, if she wants to weigh in here, and I have a couple things to add, and then we could read the proclamation.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, we're really grateful to the resident that reached out to raise awareness about this very important issue. We also thought that in addition to the proclamation, that this would be an opportunity for our staff to share more information with the public about the 988 number. That is a national hotline where people who may be considering suicide, family members who need resources about suicide for prevention, et cetera, they can call, and that is a resource that's available. We're not really sure, from what we've been hearing, how many folks are really aware of this revamped hotline number. So again, we thought that given the month, that would be a great opportunity, again, for our team to help promote that. Also, we did just want to note for the cover memo, we're really grateful to the Farmington Valley Health District who are working in partnership with our social services staff and my team. We are going to be having staff training during the months of September and October. We're going to be doing QPR for folks who haven't participated in that. It's question, persuade, and refer, which teaches simple steps we can use if we experience someone who may be facing thoughts and feelings of suicide. There also will be an opportunity for the public here in Simsbury to participate in QPR training on October 10th. We do have registration contact information if there is a member of the public who would like to pursue that opportunity. And then we'll also be offering, it's a 2-part course, mental health first aid for our staff in September and October as well. And we have prepared a proclamation for you all for consideration. In addition to the proclamation, the nonprofit organization had referenced that many communities are lighting up downtown businesses during the month of September, the color purple, to raise awareness about this cause. As we have done in the past, for example, for Autism Awareness Month or prevention of gun violence, should the board desire to light up, for the remainder of September, the color of purple, we have prepared that for your motion this evening as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we read it, I just wanted to mention a friend of my daughter's college roommate, Megan Kelly, lost her brother to suicide with a gun in his home while they were living together, my daughter and Megan. And so I reached out to her and told her we were doing this, and I sent her what Maria and the town had put together, and she thought it was great. She really appreciated that we were highlighting the 988 number, because she said that is one of the biggest things, is this new suicide lifeline, and also educating people on some of the warning signs. And she sent me a link, which I will include in my first Selectmen's report, which has not been done yet. But she said some of these are obvious, but there's a few that she said I should highlight. And one is withdrawal from activities, sleeping too much or too little, talk of feeling trapped or overwhelmed, anxiety disorder, and a stressful life event like a divorce, loss of a job, financial crisis, and other life transitions. And she's been advocating for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So I just wanted to mention that here. And now we can move on to our resolution. And if people don't mind, do you guys want to just each take a turn and go down the line and read it together, since it's a Board of Selectmen? So you want to start, Heather?
Oh, yeah. Whereas Suicide Prevention Week 9/4 through 9/10 and Suicide Prevention Day 9/10 are being recognized through the month of September, where we address the persistent public health issue of suicide, raise awareness on the causes of suicide, offer support and resources to those affected by suicide, encourage communication on mental health, and educate the general public on suicide prevention measures.
Whereas the purple and turquoise teal suicide prevention ribbon symbolizes suicide awareness and prevention and serves as a reminder that suicide is an issue we need to talk about.
Whereas the recent transition from the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline's 1-800-273-8255 number to the 3-digit 988 dialing code is not widely known, and government outreach is necessary to mass communicate this number to the public.
Whereas from 2020 CDC data, suicide is the 15th leading cause of death in Connecticut, the 3rd leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24, and the 2nd leading cause of death for ages 25 to 34.
Whereas more than 85% of communities did not have enough mental health providers to serve residents in 2021, according to federal guidelines, and almost 5 times as many people died by suicide in 2019 than in alcohol-related motor vehicle accidents.
Whereas suicide prevention measures are now more important than ever as the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted social events and relationships, increased stress levels of all age groups, and decreased physical contact.
Whereas suicide prevention measures, education, and research will prevent the untimely deaths of Americans each year.
Whereas suicide is neither a personal failure nor the evidence of mental illness, but rather a common human response to difficult environmental factors and emotional pain. Improving life circumstances, enhancing social connection, and reducing emotional pain are effective ways to reduce the frequency and intensity of suicidal thoughts and feelings.
Whereas we affirm our commitment to reducing deaths caused by suicide and pledge to do all we can to ensure that mental health resources and support are offered to those that need it.
Whereas establishing September as Suicide Prevention Month promotes awareness, starts a dialogue, destigmatizes mental illness, and helps prevent suicide.
Therefore, be it resolved that we, members of the Simsbury Board of Selectmen, hereby proclaim September Suicide Prevention Month in the town of Simsbury and ask that the town light up Eno Hall in purple for the remainder of the month. In witness thereof, we've placed our signatures on the Great Seal of the town of Simsbury.
Thank you. Anybody else have any further discussion on this?
Just thank you for highlighting it.
Okay.
It's important.
Yeah.
Does the motion that we move effective September 12th, 2022 to endorse a proclamation for Suicide Prevention Month, further move to authorize Eno Memorial Hall to be lit up in purple for the rest of the month of September in support of suicide prevention awareness?
Move that.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so thank you. Thanks a lot for putting that together, Maria. Thank you. Okay. We now have another presentation. We have the Simsbury Volunteer Ambulance Association here to give us an update on the second response unit. We have Pete Tadone here. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Peter Tadone, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Simsbury Volunteer Ambulance. Here tonight with a few other members of our Board of Directors. Russ Regenauer is here, Lindsay Pinkham, and Chris Kelly, and our Executive Director and Chief of Service, Karen Stewart. So the purpose of this presentation is to update the whole board on decisions that the organization has made over the last month or so, following discussions we've had with the first Selectman, Selectman Askham, and the town manager about service-related issues. So the topic tonight is what we call our second response unit. So you all know that for many years, since 1957, we've provided a ambulance at no charge to the town of Simsbury for all those years. But the data shows that over the last several years, we've needed to have a second ambulance certain hours and certain times. And so we've been building toward that, and we've provided a second ambulance for certain periods of time. In response to the data, and this is data that we look at as a board on a regular basis and make judgments about, we've decided that the Ambulance Association is going to provide a second response unit as follows. We will provide the second response unit 7 days per week. This unit will principally be scheduled between the hours of 0700 and 1900 hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., with some flexibility. This second response unit will consist of an advanced life support ambulance, or a basic life support ambulance, or an advanced life support fly car. This unit will be available to fulfill mutual aid obligations, as we always have. And we will be providing a quarterly report on this program to the Town of Simsbury Public Safety Committee to keep them apprised of the service levels and the continuing look at the data. The board recognizes that the financial sustainability of our doing this will depend on call volume, reimbursement rates, and things of that nature. Simsbury Ambulance is prepared in the short term to take the financial risk of this added service, and will report to the Town of Simsbury to keep you informed on the status of the program and our potential need for financial support for this second vehicle going forward. We think that we need a good 90 days of experience under our belt to look at the data again, and you can expect to hear from us again. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this update.
Did anybody want to say anything on the board?
Sure. So just Pete, first, thanks for being here tonight, and for the rest of the board, and for Karen to be here. We did have some pretty in-depth conversations, not only over the last month, but right over the last year on this topic.
Yep.
And I do appreciate, and keep me in lane here. Your board has met 4 or 5 times in the last month and a half on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Not only on the staffing, but also the additional information that's come to light. So I, for one, have appreciated the sincerity and thoughtfulness you and the board and Karen have taken in terms of listening to the concerns of not only the Board of Selectmen, but the residents and also former employees and volunteers of the organization. So with that, can you just explain a little bit more about what you meant? I think we understand it, but for everybody else, the ALS, the BLS,
Yes.
and then the fly car, in terms of what does that mean from a second ambulance?
Sometimes the vernacular, replaces the word in our processor. Advanced life support ambulances are ambulances that are staffed by a minimum of 1 EMT and 1 paramedic. A paramedic is an advanced life support provider. That person can do things such as electrocardiogram and conversion, provide more advanced medications, etc. A BLS ambulance is a basic life support ambulance that is staffed typically by 2 EMTs at the EMT level. A fly car is a small vehicle that is staffed by a paramedic, an ALS paramedic, with all the paramedic equipment that he or she needs in it. And that vehicle can go directly to the scene of a call for us, and then meet up with a transporting ambulance as soon as it can get there. So it's an intervention technique that is commonly used in the business.
So I think what's important for folks to take away from this is currently, or previously, car 10, your first ambulance, and car 17, your second, was done on a schedule basis, which means if there was not staff, right, for the second ambulance, that vehicle or that unit did not respond.
That's right.
Essentially, what was happening, and with the pandemic, with staffing, et cetera, there were some challenges with that space, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Now going forward, correct me if I'm wrong, but this model will allow you to be more responsive from that 7 to 7, because in the event that there is not a paramedic available, that basic life support unit would go?
It gives us the flexibility to staff either way, depending on the availability of different license levels, ALS license level or EMT level.
And then even further, if there's not an EMT to drive, you can still send the paramedic out in the fly car. So the important thing for folks to take away from this is that SVA is responding with 2 additional options from what we had previously had, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And what we talked about and what you're talking about tonight is we all believe that this will increase the level of availability for that second ambulance or second response unit in the event that there are additional calls during the same time, right? From that 7 to 7
Yeah,
hour.
of course. We can't plan when the 911 call is going to come in, right? And very often we get one call every 4 or 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get 8 calls in a short period of time, and we're that's just a fact of life. Right. We also maintain mutual aid agreements with East Granby, and Canton ambulances. We provide mutual aid to them, and they provide mutual aid to us. So really, we have quite good coverage, all things considered.
And then, go ahead, Heather. You want to jump in?
I'm just, will this be going into effect immediately? And
Already gone into
it's
effect.
already gone into effect. We have and do you envision this improving response times for our residents?
Well, to the degree we had to use a mutual aid ambulance in the past, that might come from Granby or Canton, that response time would naturally be longer than if our ambulance was sitting here on Old Mill Lane and responding. So yes, this ought to reduce, on the average, response times.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. I'm kind of new to the SVAA realm because Sean and Eric did a lot of work last year with the data here. And we've all been part of the emails that have come through to the board. And I just wanted to say that we've had several meetings with the members of the board of the SVAA, and they've done work to investigate and look into all of these claims. And in the meetings that we've had, along with, talking about the different levels of service, there does not seem to be a valid ongoing issue, and have given us their trust and assurances that the SVAA and the members are dedicated professionals who are doing the best they can for Simsbury and to keep our residents safe.
Thank you. And just to add to that, I would say we take any comments about our service and our organization very seriously as a board. We have a board that's made up of individuals that are exceptionally experienced at organization and governance. So while it's unfortunate that we have to have those kinds of discussions, I think we take those things very seriously and have dealt with them very appropriately.
Yeah. And we're happy to, if they have been coming to us, you are part of the chain now. So we all will get the same information.
That's right.
A couple quick questions. First of all, thank you. Thank the volunteers. It's fantastic. It's one of the things that makes this town amazing. My family's been the benefactor. I've been lucky enough to have been served by the SVA for 60 plus years and has experienced the great care. Purely informational. As you were looking at the trends of calls, and is it simplistically, it's our population growth or whichever, but I'm sure after, Karen and everyone, after the calls come out, you come back and you do a postmortem, maybe a better term than that. The triage, that's a better term. I don't know, a better term. But to say, okay, what type of call this really was relative to the degree of care that was needed. Was it strictly a transport, or is it or something more serious than that? Yeah. Just curious, and you may not have it today, but there must be a measurable ratio between a super serious case, and I don't know what you call that, a level 1 or a 3, and 3 is just transport. So there must be a ratio between those two. And so as you've seen the call volume increase over the years, has that ratio stayed the same? Is the gap widened or not? I'm curious.
It fluctuates, really. I mean, it's, again, not predictable, but I actually happen to know in August billing, July billing, 50% of the calls we went on were BLS. And they didn't need a paramedic, they just needed the EMT and a ride to the hospital.
Gotcha. So I think strategically, as you experience and you test your new model, that would be a flex point depending on what type of level that second car gets staffed to. Correct?
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Because as our town has continued to grow resident-wise, that's just clearly you're going to have more calls for service. But it'll be interesting to measure that to see if the ratio stays the same as we grow.
Yep.
And then that would help you tailor the kind of car that you staff, if you will.
So, if I can explain a little bit how I see this working. So if we have our primary ambulance, I think I'm loud enough, you know? I always think I'm loud enough. The primary ambulance is staffed with a EMT and a paramedic, and the second ambulance is staffed with 2 EMTs. If a call gets dispatched down at the paramedic level, a second EMT will go with that crew. If it turns out that it's a lower level call, the 2 EMTs will take the call and the paramedic will come back to base. That allows us to make the paramedic and EMT on the second ambulance now an ALS ambulance, which keeps the paramedic in town, which is what we need to be able to do. And then if it goes out again, like we had the other day, where it went on BLS and the second call went ALS, and I was there and there was one other person, we actually got our third ambulance out for a call. So it's just a matter of having some flexibility and the employees understand what we're trying to do. And it keeps the highest level of service available to the town when needed, because a lot of calls we get do not require a paramedic. So, and there seems to be a model that seems to be working so far.
Thank you.
I think that's really important. We've had a number of discussions here, but just, for clarity for the public, we have a unique relationship in the sense that Simsbury Volunteer Ambulance Association is a separate 501c3, right? Mm-hmm. There is no official oversight between the town and SVA. We have an agreement that we file, and keep me honest here, with the state. So our EMS plan, where you are the provider of both the basic life support and the advanced life support. What's unique in Simsbury is that SVA holds the PSA for both the basic life support and the advanced life support. So that's important because we, in the town, gave SVA years ago, I believe back in the 80s for BLS and then in the 90s for ALS, those agreements. Why is that important? Because this is not a contractual relationship like other towns might experience. And the reason for that is because Avon, for example, and I spoke to Brandon Robertson over there, Avon retained their ALS PSA. They made that decision. It's not good, bad, or otherwise, but that was the decision they made. And that's why you see a different contract on an annual basis or every other year with AMR. So when folks are looking at these agreements, when we're going to review this later this year, it's really important that folks understand how we partner on this service. So.
Agreed. I agree with all.
I got all that right?
You did.
All that right?
You did. Thanks, John.
I've learned a few things in the last few years.
That's good.
I think it's also worth just stating, just for the public, I myself, when I think about the resumes, if you will, of the board members of the organization, I look at those resumes and I have complete confidence that these are educated, serious, skilled individuals who understand people management, process management. And while I may not have the viewpoint into the individual members, I'm confident that they have the skills and they have the fortitude and the experience to manage that organization competently. And we are not missing anything, and they are not missing anything. And if there is something there, they will address it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys, for all coming. Okay, next up on the agenda is the first selectman's report, and I have to report to Tom Fitzgerald that he won't have a first selectman's report tomorrow.
I want to hear your report.
I'm going to give you a couple updates, though. I've been gone for 10 days, so just give me a break here.
Just the seltzer.
Our police study, the RFQ's been underway. The data, from the people that were reviewing them has come back, and we will be meeting on Thursday to go over the candidates. I'll be surprised to see who those will be. On August 17th, Chase Martin was here. He was the first select kid, and it was done through a Squadron Line fundraiser. Their shine night, probably like the duck race that we do for whatever, for shooting hells, I'm sorry. And the mom actually submitted a big article to the Valley Press, and it was really praising the town staff that came out and acted and had meetings with Chase. They published the pictures and everything, so it was really nice. So I'm hoping to get the link and put that in my report. And along with the suicide prevention information, I also am happy to say that we finished our goal setting meeting, and that I'm planning to send out too. The ADU opt-out, which we talked about having tonight, is going to be pushed out. There's some work that still needs to be done on the zoning commission, so that will probably happen in early November. And the 501c3 applications that we were doing for nonprofits to use our COVID money are due on Friday. So if you are sitting out there with one that you want to submit, please do it. And that's all I have. Great. Turn it over to Maria.
Thank you so much. So just quickly under our coronavirus update, I do want to highlight that the health district is offering vaccine appointments, including booster appointments for folks for COVID. They're currently doing that on Mondays and Fridays at their offices in Canton for people ages 18 and older. They do have a Sign Up Genius form, or you can call their office to schedule an appointment. For department news and notes, I'm really excited this evening to report, and I also wanted to say many thanks to Tom Fitzgerald, our management specialist, for managing the recruitments for the newly authorized positions that were part of our budgeting process, because not only did we create new classifications, we engaged in recruitments, found wonderful candidates, most of whom have started work or will be in the coming weeks. So a lot of good news to report this evening. From our finance department, we recently hired Frank Santino. He is our new property appraiser in the assessor's office. As you'll recall, this is a model that Amy and myself and Francine, our assessor, were quite excited about. He started on September 6th. He comes to us with previous experience as a property inspector or property appraiser, if you will, for a private revaluation company, and had also served as a real estate broker. He has a degree from Charter Oak State College. We're really excited, again, to have him on board. Having that position is really going to help ensure that the grand list has accurate and timely data and help us with continuing to develop new growth. So welcome, Frank. Yep. And for information technology, Rob Lowell was selected as our town's new information technology support specialist. Again, this was one of those new positions authorized in the fiscal 22-23 budget. He began work with us on August 31st. He has previous experience in the technology world. He's held roles such as an IT engineer, IT specialist, and systems engineer. He holds multiple certifications in the technology field. So welcome, Rob. And for the library, I'm really happy to announce a promotion of Sin Thomas. She previously was working for us as a part-time adult service librarian. She also worked as a part-time children's librarian. And initially, she started with us as a page while she was pursuing her master's degree in library science. So she has since completed that degree. And again, we're just really excited to have her on board with us full-time now. So congratulations to Sin. Also from the library, it is National Library Card Sign-Up Month. The library is sponsoring a Library Card Palooza event on Friday evening, September 16th from 6 to 9 p.m. It's going to occur outdoors on the library lawn. There's going to be musical performances, mocktails, provided compliments of the Simsbury Inn, juggling demonstrations, lawn games. There will be some s'mores making, so I think it's going to be a really fun night and encourage folks to attend. September 16th.
Coming up soon.
Yes. Yes, and we sure hope that folks will sign up for library cards while they're there.
Already have one.
And from the police department, again, another exciting announcement. This was, again, one of the authorized positions during fiscal 22-23 budget. We are welcoming Christina Deltado for the accreditation specialist position in the police department. So you may recall this was a big switch for us to transfer that from a sworn position to a civilian position, hence enabling us to reinstate the traffic officer position, which has been out in the field again.
Saw that officer today.
Oh, yeah, here. They're out there.
Riverside Road. I did not get a person.
Riverside Road.
Well, we're really fortunate to have Christina join the team. She is a well-experienced public safety professional with over 30 years of experience. She knows the Valley, and she is just her background in accreditation is truly outstanding. She has been involved with CLIA accreditation since the mid-1990s. And in fact, for quite some time, she was actually a rater for CLIA. She would go to other communities and rate them for accreditation. She started per diem with us over the summer and then moved into the full-time role on September 6th. We're just really excited to have her on board. And another big announcement, we have found a successor for Mark Rudowitz following his retirement for the Animal Control Officer position. Stephanie Corbeil has been selected for that position. Her background is in animal science. She has an animal science degree from the University of Connecticut. She's held positions during her career as a kennel and veterinary technician, a canine trainer, an assistant animal control officer. So she began work today. So welcome to Stephanie.
Right.
Shouldn't happen to specialize in bears, does she?
She'll learn a lot about bears. And some news from Public Works. After 15 years of service with our Highway Division, Dave Harris retired from service last week. He was a very dependable and hardworking member of our team, and we will certainly miss him. He's a lifelong Simsbury resident and a member of the Simsbury Volunteer Fire Department, so we certainly want to wish Dave well in his retirement. And Dave Acosta has been appointed to serve as a building custodian for our second shift in our Buildings and Grounds division. He's filling a vacancy that was created from a retirement over the summer. He had actually previously worked for the town as a part-time employee for us. And so we're really excited to welcome him back. He was just truly a wonderful staff member when we had him here previously. He also is a certified HVAC technician, which we think is going to be a key addition to our facilities team. You might see him around, particularly being second shift. He's going to be supporting this building, the library, the police department. So welcome back to Dave. And from social services, we are currently taking applications for the Renters Rebate Program. We have a link to our website for eligibility criteria and a phone number for social services for folks who would like to apply. And the fourth and final newly authorized position during the budget process was our youth and family social worker. And Erica Cleveland has accepted our offer to join our team. She's going to begin work on October 3rd. She has a bachelor's degree in social work as well as a master's degree in social work from Springfield College. She has work experience as a rehab counselor, assessment counselor, other related positions to this particular position. So we're also very excited to have her join our community and get to know and work with our families in town.
Great.
Of note, under Town Manager's Office, we're happy to announce on behalf of the Farmington Valley Health District, they're going to be providing a new service this fall. They are offering flu vaccine clinics for businesses. And if you have 10 or more employees at your work site, they will come to you for you. So a great service. This is a new service they're offering, and the contact information for the health district is in the report.
Great.
And sorry for the long report tonight. We've been very busy. And just lastly, we do want to make our residents aware who are on the Aquarian water system that they have filed an application with PURA, which is our Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, for a rate increase. That has been many, many years since they have asked for a rate increase. They are proposing a rate increase over a period of years. It would impact residential customers, commercial customers, and there is a new rate structure that they're proposing to incentivize people who use less water. So that is something that is a new portion. They're also offering a bill discount for eligible low-income customers. However, the rate impact could be significant for some of our folks. So what we are going to be doing, we are also working in partnership with the fire district and staying updated on this, is promoting the public comment periods that are available for the public. There will be 2 virtual hearings that are coming up in October that our residents, again, who are Aquarian customers, can certainly participate in. We're also going to be making information about the rate increases available on the homepage of our website. Again, just to really try to help educate folks that this is going on and to make people aware of this potential rate increase. And that concludes my report this evening.
All right, thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, now we get to the Selectmen, Liaison, and Subcommittee reports. So I'm going to start going this way and see if anybody has any updates.
I don't have anything today.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Public safety's in 2 weeks, so nothing yet from me.
Okay, Amber?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to say that the Aging Well in Simsbury survey, where we wanted to get feedback from people age 50 and over as part of our AARP livable age community. The survey is going to be closing on September 15th. So that's coming up this week. If you haven't had a chance to fill it out yet, please do. It's available online at the Senior Center website, or you can get a hard copy at the Senior Center or at the library. And also this weekend, I'd like to give a shout out. It is going to be the Simsbury Arts and Crafts Festival. That's going to be happening at the Performing Arts Center here on Iron Horse on the newly paved parking lot, which is going to be great because it allows more accessibility for anybody with mobility issues. You're going to be able to enjoy the festival on the asphalt. The green will be open on a limited basis to sit down if you want to have some lunch or purchase a beverage. And there's going to be, I think, some local entertainment there. There's also going to be some touch-a-truck things available. And I think think the Simsbury book bike from the library is going to be there. So it's a great partnership with the Simsbury Junior Women's Club and a lot of different people here in town through Public Works, the PAC, and the library. That is 10 to 4 Saturday and Sunday.
How's the craft field looking?
The vendors?
Yeah.
Oh, I think they look very, very good. And we have, last year was a much smaller event. They were still struggling to get vendors from COVID. This year, we have twice as many vendors. I think we have probably close to 75 vendors. So it should be great.
Sounds like fun. Good.
And there's a bake sale. So
good way to spend money. Okay.
I don't know, whatever I have time to bake before Saturday.
Do you have any other updates?
That's what I have.
Okay, Eric?
I don't, but 3 of my committees are meeting tonight during this meeting, so I expect to have something to report in a couple of weeks.
Okay, and Board of Ed's back. Everybody's back to school, so they might be kicking up and getting active.
Yeah.
Chris? Nothing? Okay. So now we can move into the Selectmen action, and our first up is the tax refunds. And if the board supports approving the tax refunds as presented, the following motion is in order. Move effective September 12th, 2022 to approve the presented tax refunds in the amount of $31,751.91 and to authorize Town Manager Maria E. Capriola to execute the tax refunds.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next item is a recovery-friendly community initiative. And if you remember last meeting, we had Lisa Gray here, who is our recovery-friendly champion. She also has started a Promise to Jordan. And at that meeting, we committed to say that we would be a recovery-friendly community and that we have a lot of the tools in place to do so. Maria has also provided, if she wants to explain some of the information that's included in this packet for recovery-friendly businesses. If you want to add something there, Maria.
Sure. So as you may recall from some of Lisa's past presentations, she has been advocating for our local businesses to become recovery-friendly businesses. And there are a couple of good toolkits that are available for businesses who might be interested in pursuing that designation. So we have provided those for reference.
Okay. So those will be out they're already out there. So if the motion that's suggested is to move effective September 12th, 2022 to proclaim the town of Simsbury as a recovery-friendly community.
Move that.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And the next item is a donation from Eleanor and Wayne Hoffman. Maria, if you want to add something, and I know Amber would like to say something on this too.
Sure. This was just a very generous donation from the Hoffman family to support our social service clients who are experiencing various emergency needs, whether it's rent, utilities, etc. So many thanks to them.
One thing, or just before, and if people need to use those services, they can find information on our social services on the website, correct?
Yes, and they can always contact our social services team as well.
Okay, great. Amber?
Yes, I wanted to acknowledge that sadly Wayne Hoffman passed away last week. He and his wife, Ellie, have lived in Tariffville for 49 years. He was a longtime volunteer in the community, and he was a veteran of the Korean War. He was also a member of the Simsbury Volunteer Fire Department. So I just wanted to personally extend our condolences to his wife and to their whole family. So
that's too bad. Yeah. So if the board supports accepting this donation, the following motion is in order. Move effective September 12th, 2022 to accept a donation from Eleanor and Wayne Hoffman in the amount of $3,000 for the purpose of aiding residents in need.
So moved with our thanks.
Thank you.
Second.
No, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion passes. Yeah, thank you. Next up is a grant from the Secretary of State to be used for absentee ballot preparation for the November 8th election. And Maria and Trish were involved in this, if you would like to provide information?
Sure, and Melissa as well. So Melissa, if I've missed anything, just jump in. But no, we're really grateful for this grant. It was completely unexpected, meaning it was not a competitive grant program that we had to apply for, but more of a formulary grant based on the amount of absentee ballots that we had received during the 2018 and 2020 elections. So again, we're really grateful for the financial assistance. We're certainly going to need some assistance with temporary ballot workers, again, for the upcoming election. So very grateful to the state for this. And Melissa, I don't know if there's anything you would like to add.
No, just thank you to Trish, because she was really, anticipating this even before we learned about this opportunity. She said, there's with absentee ballots becoming more accessible. COVID is still a reason to vote by absentee. We're still expected to get not quite what we got in 2020, but probably about half of that, which is still like 3 times as many as we would get, or at least what we got compared to the 2018 state midterm election. So is a lot of work on that office, and so this is very, very welcome. And something we'll keep an eye on moving forward, through the budget process, potentially if this trend is going to continue and it's going to continue to be easy to vote by absentee. This is definitely something we'll have to keep an eye on.
Sean, you have a question?
Just a question. Are we going to track the expenditures against this to that end so that we can understand, if is this enough, is it not enough? We can carry it forward to future years and our budget there.
Good idea.
Okay.
Because we're, we'll make sure we keep track of the hours that the part-time folks are going to be helping us out at, what the rate is, and that's
I think that's important, right? Because we always hear from the registrars and from the town clerk, it's inundating our office, but we've not been able to quantify, right? That, and I no doubt that it's a burden on them, but is it a 5,000? Is it a 10,000? What's the right number so that we can start to plan for that? That'd be really important.
I have a kind of similar question: is are we going to use all the 10,000 for the absentee ballots, and if we don't, can we carry it over to use for next election or something like that?
It's a good question. I mean, we can't predict, we're going off of an estimated predicted number of absentees that we're going to.
But can the money can be used elsewhere in the
I don't know.
town clerk's budget?
If they don't spend it all.
Yeah, we'll have to inquire.
Okay. Again, not looking for a big administrative burden here, but it would be good to know, because if it's 15 and we only have 10, that's important. That means we're taking away from other services in the town or otherwise. So.
Well, thank the Secretary of the State. So if the board supports accepting the Secretary of the State's grant, the following motion is in order to move effective September 12, 2022, to accept a grant from the Secretary of State in the amount of $10,000, $709.83 for the purpose of assisting the town clerk's office with the processing of absentee ballots for the upcoming election, and to authorize town manager Maria Capriola to execute all documents related to the grant.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next up, we have a social media request from Open Space. And I know they've been asking to put some data out there. So Maria, if you want to say something, and I think we have a couple questions down here.
Sure, great. So as many of you know, we have had the Open Space Work Group, which is the subcommittee of the larger committee that has been very active in terms of assisting us with creating land management practices and developing our land management policies. We're so incredibly grateful to the efforts of those folks, Marjorie Winters and Susan Messino in particular. Recently, that group expanded a bit, and a few of our newer members have joined that subcommittee as well. Part of the work that they're doing is to also develop papers, informational kind of fact sheets for folks on topics of interest, such as managing invasive species and things of that nature that might be of interest to our residents and homeowners in the community. I think it dovetails very nicely into the work that they've been doing for that larger policy work for the town. So they are requesting access to create a social media account to essentially enable them to share that information when it's created, but also to promote educational events and opportunities related to open space.
Great. Yeah, Eric?
I like that they're really thinking about communication in this way, because with a lot of these initiatives, it's not about just the town doing the right thing. It's about telling people that the town is doing the right thing so that people can consider managing their own properties in different ways. So I think this is great. And my only thought would be to partner with with Parks and Rec, or perhaps Parks and Rec could use their account to highlight some of this account, since it's not going to have very many people and on it initially. And that was my only thought.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
And we know Tom Taberski's a master on social media, so if he's handling both accounts, they're probably going to be in good hands, right?
So my only question is, the Open Space Committee is a subcommittee of ours? And it has a specific purpose, right? And I agree that the work is great, but this isn't necessarily the charge of the Open Space Committee.
So I've been thinking about this since the, we saw the packet. My first thought was, could this be accomplished successfully with Parks and Rec's page? But I know that there's a level of, I think, energy around particular issues on open space where I would worry about that not.
I want to be very careful here. I don't disagree with the effort, but again, the Open Space Committee has a specific charge. And I don't believe that the creation and dissemination of this information is in that charge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they review our purchases of open space as one of our checks. We gave them a specific task to manage our open space land, but they don't have any execution authority, right?
So they are a committee that's created by charter.
Correct.
If you guys want a table for the evening, I can.
I'm not going to be a pain in the neck here. I just
pull up the charter reference and any specific ordinance
what's your
references.
concern that they would have a social media page?
Because if they're not authorized by charter or by committee to do what they're doing, then they can't be promoting that through a town page. It has to be within the purview of what it's like. Zoning can't promote Parks and Rec stuff because that's not zoning's charge. Everybody needs to stay in their own lane. I don't disagree with the work, but is this the group that's supposed to be doing this is my question.
Well, their meetings, they talk about the no-mow zone came up and things to that nature, which are under their purview, would be, well, then why would they be talking about it, I guess?
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm not saying I disagree with that. I'm just, my interaction with open space over the last 11 years has been when there's a referral from this board.
Yes, but there was also a few years ago, you may recall, the stewardship and land management practices by this board were delegated.
Did we delegate those?
From
okay.
redelegated from conservation to open space. So that was a change a few years ago, and that was under the charter. I'm sorry, I was just looking for the charter.
That's what I was. Okay, so now you're piecing it together for me. I'm not questioning their activities.
So with that, then they can. They would have something to talk about, if you will.
I think so, particularly
being the stewards, and they would be providing information about events, changes, accomplishments, whichever it may be, usage. Correct? Is that what?
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair statement, particularly given, again, that delegation of the land management and stewardship piece to them a few years ago. I'd have to go back and double check. I think that was 2019.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that now. Thank you for that. So my question is withdrawn.
My only thought is that they are, they're working on policies and procedures that often come to this board for approval, and I wouldn't want the social media to get ahead of what this board has already approved, but I trust with staff oversight that
Tom's a pretty good filter.
Yeah,
I think. Let's try until we.
Yeah, I have no concern with the account. It was the work behind it. Yep. Okay.
Okay. I don't like it. We'll shut them down.
It's just I want to make sure.
No, it's a good question. The Board of Selectmen supports Open Space Committee, establishing Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts of which town staff liaison Tom Taberski will have oversight. The motion is as follows. Move effective September 12th, 2022 to approve the creation of the Simsbury Open Space Committee, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts to be used by the committee to publicize their efforts, of which town staff will have oversight.
Move that.
Oh, second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that passes. And the last item is the proposed settlement agreement that we talked about. I don't remember when we talked about this discussion.
I believe it was executive session at your last meeting.
Okay. So it's about I'll let you talk about the assessment values and what was agreed upon, what they're going to
Sure. And I'm going to say I'm a poor substitute. Unfortunately, Attorney DiCrescenzo is under the weather and unable to attend this evening. And our assessor was already scheduled for some vacation time prior to this all sort of coming together for our meeting this evening. But you did hear from both of them in executive session previously. And there is a proposed settlement agreement for the tax appeal on the personal property for the Tobacco Valley Solar property. I think it's consistent with the information that Attorney DiCrescenzo and our assessor had previously shared with the board. So we have attached a copy of that settlement agreement for your review and consideration this evening.
Okay. And the question that came up earlier on the original assessment, the high assessment, who was that done by?
I can confirm. I will find out from the assessor's office.
I wasn't sure if it was us, the original value, and then the owner asked for their value, and the recommendation was for the 26.5. So if the board supports the stipulation here, we move effective September 12th, 2022 to approve the joint stipulation for judgment for docket number HHB CV 21-607-0863-S, DW Solar 2 LLC versus Town of Simsbury for the tax appeal on the taxable personal property located at 5560 Hoskins Road as presented, and authorize Town Attorney Robert DiCrescenzo to execute this agreement.
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. I mean, Attorney DiCrescenzo works for these on our tax appeals, and he has extensive knowledge in this space. And one of the challenges that we've obviously talked about, and I won't go into detail, is that solar panels are a relatively new field and new space. It's not as cut and dry as your car or the concrete. So I think based on his advice and wisdom, this is a fair settlement for the community.
That's a good point.
Okay. So we voted on that already. So let me.
Sean moved, I seconded it.
Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Threw me there. Okay. So that ends the Selectmen action. Now we have the resignation. A couple of resignations. We have a resignation of Cheryl Cook and Tom Steen from the Community for Care Committee. I know Cheryl's been a real advocate as Tom, but Cheryl's been there probably the longest. And they are resigning. The information's in the packet as to why, but we want to thank both of them for their service on this board. It's a very important committee. And to move retroactive to August 1st, 2022 to accept the resignation of Cheryl A. Cook as a regular member of the Community for Care Committee, and move retroactive to September 1st, 2022 to accept the resignation of Tom Steen as a regular member of the Community for Care Committee.
So moved.
Thank you, Heather.
I'll second.
Amber.
One of you.
I know. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then we have the resignation of Robert Muley from the Board of Ethics. The information is attached. And move effective September 7, 2022 to accept the resignation of Robert Muley as a regular member of the Board of Ethics.
Move that.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now we get to the minutes. First up is the August 8th minutes. And I have a correction or an addition that I'd like to see reflected in the minutes. And that is on item F around the public gathering permit. I would like it to amend to include that Ms. Maxudis questioned and was not in favor of the need for fireworks at this event. And that I was concerned people would not be aware of it as it was not July 4th or another planned event. Any change?
I mean, so are we doing transcript now?
Well, I wanted it included. I want it for the record, so.
But you voted for it. So now you're
I did.
Now you're confusing the minutes.
No, I'm not. I'm just including.
So your question is not accurate. You raised concern, but you
I raised
were not
concern,
against it.
and it doesn't say I didn't vote for it. So what does that have to do with the minutes?
Because your correction said you were against it.
I said
is inaccurate.
I was not in favor of the need for fireworks.
And then you voted.
If you'd like me to add, but after learning that the fire department provided their approval, I voted yes.
I object to any transcripts in the minutes is what I'm objecting to, Wendy. These are not supposed to be capturing every single thing that was said. Otherwise, we would have to go back and put everybody's comments.
Got all my comments in there.
So,
The vote is what is supposed to be in the minutes.
so I thought people are allowed to amend the minutes to reflect what they would like to
With
see
majority
there.
agreement of the board, yes.
Okay, so we'll take a vote on it then.
Fair enough.
Can you repeat? Can you
Yeah,
repeat?
I have another addition too.
Okay.
And I will include my piece. Amend to include Ms. Maxdudas questioned and was not in favor of the need for fireworks at this event. She was concerned that people would not be aware of it as it was not July 4th or another planned event. But after hearing that the fire department approved it and it was safe, she voted with the board in favor. Okay? Do I do each one separately to vote on, or do I do my changes all at once?
It may be easier to take it.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include those comments. The minutes. Okay, do I hear a motion?
If it's accurate, yes, I'll second.
Okay, anybody? Oh, I made the motion. Second, all those in favor to include it? Aye. All those in favor to not include it?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, thank you. Then I would like to also include that the Board of Selectmen website submission, that I wanted the public aware of the issue. Oh, I was changing the wording. I would like to just say that Ms. Maxdudas committed to sending an apology to those impacted who might have been expecting and did not receive a timely response from the Board of Selectmen. So would someone move to ask for me to have that added to the minutes?
I'll move.
Thank you. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, so it doesn't go in. Okay, thank you. Next up is the August 25th special meeting drafts. Are there any changes to these minutes?
Yes, I would like to make a change to reflect. So an insertion, I believe, should be made in section C following where Maria is quoted, ending in quote, ... should be discussed before making next year's schedule. And prior to Mr. Ascom made a motion to table the discussion because there's an emptiness in what took place there. So I would like it to reflect between there is Selectman Getz raised a concern regarding internal transparency. Town Manager Maria Capriola stated this is a discussion better addressed in executive session, to which there were no objections. First Selectman Maxdudas raised a related concern.
Okay. So do you want to make a motion to include those?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to include those.
Okay, I will second those. And we could take a vote. All those in favor to include the minutes that are amended, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so that does not get into the minutes. I have a question for Maria. As we go through a meeting going forward, if we want the minutes to reflect something as the meeting is happening, I was told we can say, I would like the minutes to reflect this. Is that true? Because I believe you're allowed to do that.
Right. I think it's sort of this balance that all of our recording clerks, attempt, which is that per FOIA, minutes need to reflect essentially who was in attendance, where we met, the motions. So what was the motion that was made? Who made the motion? Who seconded the motion? Who voted in favor? Who was opposed? So for the purposes of FOIA, that's what minutes are. Okay. I'm sure there are some communities, I'm not aware of any, but I'm sure there are some who may take a step of perhaps doing a transcript, which would be documenting, every single word. That would be, quite expensive for us to go in that endeavor. And what I can also just say about our current minute taker, our our clerk. We are fairly fortunate in that our clerk, who is a primary clerk for the Board of Selectmen, has been clerking for us since 2002. So we do have a fairly, experienced clerk who's been doing this for about 20 years. If we wanted to deviate, significantly from sort of the practice, which is focusing largely on the motions with a little bit of the discussion points, that might be something to perhaps discuss through the Rules of Procedure project that I know the Personnel Subcommittee was going to be taking a look at. But that might be a good place to kind of think about, do you want to sort of change the practice of how the minutes have been recorded for these, these many years?
But technically, if during the meeting someone wanted something included in the minutes, they could ask to have the minutes reflect that line of questioning or response.
I think they could make the request, and I can look into that a little bit more.
Okay, thank you. That would be helpful.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I just want to say that it was my understanding that following Robert's Rules of Order, that the minutes reflect action that was taken and not deliberations.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so that is why I did not vote to make these amendments, because it is my understanding that is not what Robert's Rules suggests. I would also like to say that we do have we have a complete recording of the meeting that is available publicly, as well as it being live streamed, so that if the minutes reflect the action that was taken, and we also supplement that with a recording, that is a discussion point I think we can have on this board as to whether that is sufficiently transparent.
So I would like to comment on that. It's somewhat contradicted, because in section C, it's about our goals, yet the only person quoted, and it's not an action item, is what what Town Manager Capriola is doing for our town. I don't understand how that would be chosen as the only thing when it's about our goals, nothing to do with Maria and her goals.
So do you want that stricken?
It just seems like it's sort of...
We can strike it from the minutes. I would support striking hyperbole from the minutes. I wouldn't support adding more in.
I guess my concern is how is it submitted? And then when you look at, the transparency, we talk about how do you get information out there all the time to our residents. Residents don't have time to watch a 3-hour film. So it's much easier for them to access minutes and read them. So they should actually tell a factual narrative and be able to gain real information from it.
I agree with you, but the problem is you picked one quote from a 2.5-hour meeting. That's not increased transparency. That's cherry picking one quote.
It's the only quote.
It's the only thing.
It's the only one in our entire discussion of our goals.
What you wanted added in is the quote I'm suggesting. I'd be fine with striking.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think of it as, and I'm I just think with your thought about, who wants to watch this meeting in the first place? So
not that bad.
And you think about so it's in there, but I also think about how how media manipulates a story by using a snippet, right? And they choose to edit the comment made prior and the comment made after. So that makes me start thinking about what Sean's point is, that briefer. I know what you're saying. Transparency is if we're keeping something or hiding something, but briefer to me doesn't open up what interpretation then, because that snippet, like you're saying, I can interpret that either way by having it in there. So maybe not having it in there is almost better. And I'm sorry you have to watch the 2.5-hour meeting instead.
Chris, I agree with you. That's my point, is we're not supposed to be putting in our own points for whatever reason to point back to see I said. They're supposed to capture the intent of the meeting and what actions we took.
Right, but by putting those in the minutes, the minute taker chose to tell a story and omitting part of the story.
So make a motion to strike that.
I'm for transparency, so I'm for a motion to add it.
I'm not against transparency, but you're confusing the issue by adding one singular quote that you happen to agree with versus the entirety of the meeting, which is actual transparency. If you want the entirety of the meeting, that is the full transparency.
That's not what I'm asking for. I said
You're
under
asking
C,
for a cherry-picked
this
quote.
was added. I would not ask I would not have even, perhaps I would not have requested had the only quote in our entire section C is what Maria said about transparency. Such a coincidence. And then it moves to
Point of order. Point of order.
What are you implying?
All
You
I'm
are out of
saying,
line, Heather.
no, I'm not trying
way
to
out of
imply
line.
anything. I'm not trying to imply anything. What I'm saying is, the minutes are meant to tell why did it get brought up? It should not have been added at all. So then omit it. But you can't say something was talked about transparency, but only put one part of it.
I move that we move into executive session to discuss staff performance.
Well, we have to find, first of all, hold
There's
on.
a motion on the
hold
table.
a second.
I'm sorry.
What is the motion on the table?
Did Eric just make a motion?
I did.
Okay, we don't know if we have Bob here, and we need to know who is going to be there.
Are we approving
correct?
the minutes? Let's just approve it.
We don't need to. They stand.
They didn't
Oh, they
vote.
stand. Okay,
They stand.
good. Got it.
Sorry, if I could just jump in. So again, our clerk has been taking minutes for us for about 20 years. It's a seasoned clerk, so I am certainly not reviewing or editing those minutes. I know our deputy town manager will look for Scrivener's errors in the minutes, which means that's like a typo or a clerical error. If, again, the board has a desire, and we can discuss that at personal sub, to see more brief minutes, more expanded minutes, I can certainly provide that feedback to our clerk. And I just
want to respond. Heather, I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm not going to jump. The way I interpreted that event and why it may have come out that way is that we were going down a path that maybe should not have been going down in public in a public fashion. So Maria's correct. She was correcting us and guiding us in the right direction, versus her comment being the only one that was there because it was someone chose to put it there versus someone else's comment being in there. Okay. That's the way I interpreted that.
You know what? I really appreciate that, and I will agree with that. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
Thank you. There's a couple things too we can look at. I'm just looking at the finance meetings. They give a summary. They do say, Mr. Peterson had questions on the continuation of community outreach. So it does show when somebody questioned what was going on in the discussion. And then they go into the motion and it says what the motion was and who was in favor and who was opposed. So they do give a little bit detail on some of the conversation. So maybe there's a happy medium there that we can look into doing. And the board, we can do it as our rules and procedures. And if the board is not in favor of that and would like it to remain as it is, that's fine. Okay, so the motion is on the table is there any conversation that we want to make on the communications? There's the cannabis information, I just want to point that out. There's a, they are.
You brought that up. I've got a question. When is the zoning?
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a zoning on October 17th.
Yes,
is the public hearing at 7 o'clock to talk about the regulations. So I would hope that those of us could attend that. And it sounds like they will be asking for a 6-month extension to complete the regulations in order to complete the changes and to get the feedback from the public. So I wanted that to get out there today and people should really look at and he's here now, but we have
our fantastic planning director who was hanging out in the event that you all had some questions on this particular communication item. Good evening, George. There are just a couple of points that I would just like to just quickly bring up. Again, Attorney DiCrescenzo did answer the legal questions that the Zoning Commission had, as well as the questions of this board. And I think just important information for you all to be aware of, if you all made a decision to prohibit the sale, that is something that you could do. That would essentially supersede any regulations that the Zoning Commission may come up with to allow the use, because they're doing that through a land use process. One other piece that's just a really interesting caveat, and it was under the state statute, is that our citizens have the ability to circulate a petition and make it a ballot question. It's a relatively high threshold, so it's a 10% threshold, and in Simsbury, that's a little over 1,800 of our registered voters. There was a petition circulating briefly that was withdrawn, but if that had ultimately ended up as a ballot question, and in fact, let's say that it was, the voters are saying we want to prohibit the use, the vote at the ballot would essentially then supersede any action of the Board of Selectmen. So I just wanted to provide that little bit of clarity in terms of thinking about, how this may move forward in the future.
And can I just want to make sure I know where supersede means. As it relates to your first comment, we are still the process is still to allow zoning to finish its process and come up with its recommendation and language change. Then we would vote as a board. We wouldn't do that prior to them finishing their work.
Yeah, I would recommend that we loop back on this in the fall, but I think letting them continue their work is important. I don't know, George, if you have anything that you want to add on where they're at in their process or anything that you think is important in terms of the work of the zoning commission at the moment.
It's in my memo. I would just the zoning commission has worked on it in their June meeting. July meeting, of course, they've been meeting in August. It will be on their agenda for discussion at their next meeting, which is the 19th. And as part of that memo, I've asked them to schedule a public hearing on a draft, on draft text amendments to all of our zoning regulations, and schedule that for October 17th. Now, they can choose to do that. They could choose to schedule it for a special meeting. They could choose not to do that. I mean, we kind of have that going along parallel with the moratorium. If they don't we've got a moratorium in place that expires on November 8th. And so they would need to either take action on the draft amendment, or I would certainly recommend that they extend the moratorium for a 3 to 6 month period to allow them to finish work. But I did include the current draft text amendment in your packet, so you kind of know where they are. There may be changes to that before public hearing.
I really appreciate the update on that. I know a lot of residents are eager and to see and kind of hear about it and understand what's going on. So thank you for that.
Just to clarify to Chris's question, we can act as a board before the zoning commission. We do not have to wait for zoning. Correct?
I think that's correct.
You could.
I think
that's what I wanted to clarify.
That is correct.
That's already supersedes zoning.
That's right, because he said, Attorney Chris, his opinion was ours would supersede any decision they made, but I also wanted to make sure that we could sometimes people use the word supersede to say we could preemptively do something before someone else does it, and that's why I wanted clarity about the word supersede.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Yes.
It would be a better usage of town resources if we were going to prohibit it to do it before zoning continues their process. Right, but we have the ability at any time until zoning and exit, and even afterwards, right?
Even after.
So that's really important, because I think that was one of the things we talked about last time, right? Because I think we were under the understanding originally that this was merely a land use process, and we've since learned, right, that this board has the ability by ordinance to prohibit the sale.
Yeah, and I think that's correct, and I think just Bob made the point in his letter that your action would be by ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it made it to referendum. And then that would supersede everything that we would did.
Correct. Yeah. So the voters are first, we're second, zoning is third. Yep. That's important. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table to move to executive session. I would like to clarify who will be part of this executive session, because we had talked about, I had recommended having Bob present, just to be there in case there's any discrepancies or anything that needed to be investigated, for whatever.
Is Bob able to join us tonight?
Bob is not able to join us, unfortunately, this evening. He does send his regrets. He's just under the weather at the moment.
Okay, so the question that I will pose to the asker of the executive session is if we want to move forward without Bob at the table, if we're comfortable.
I still find value in that.
Did the rest of the board find value with that? I'm going to ask you. Okay. Okay, so the motion to move to executive session is on the table.
Is there a second?
Is there a second? Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Just to clarify, are we going the 6 of us, or are we including the town manager?
I believe the 6 of you.
I thought it would be the 6 of us unless the board felt differently.
Nope, that makes sense.
And is someone going to take any follow-up notes or anything that may need to go to Bob or to performance review?
Yeah, I'll do
Okay.
that.
Okay.